after a crazy race, well, a wild and very action-packed race at Daytona that saw Jared Polansky win and get what could be his final Superstar Series win, we head to the high bank short track of Bristol Motor Speedway, the last great Coliseum, where passing in the past has been a little bit tough, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be a good race. Alongside me in the booth, of course, you've noticed I'm not your usual lead commentator. I'm James Ellison, Nitro National Series driver, normally the co-commentator, but filling that role today is my friend and fellow Nitro National competitor Ryan Griffin. Ryan, we're going to have a good race today, and I believe we're going to see a real good show. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be it's unique to be in the situation that we are, and that it's you and I doing this. So we got, I guess you're getting your full driver's booth for a one up race this weekend. But yeah, Bristol, it's a tough track. It's a tough track because you basically have a single groove, and these guys are going to be looking for a way around their competitors, and it's going to be tough to try to make the outside work here. Now we've seen in the two races already that have been run this weekend that there have been attempts to run a second lane here, but it seems so hard to get it worked in that this passing is going to be a premium today, and this is why it's so important that you qualify well, and especially with this being the first playoff race, you need to get off on the right foot as soon as you can.
That is very true, and you mentioned it's the first playoff race, and no better way to start it than have playoff drivers up near the front where they want to be with the one groove as you talked about. And with that, let's go ahead and bring in the starting lineup for this race. Talk about playoff contenders. Devin Fair, who all he had to do at Daytona was take the green flag, and he was in. He's on pole, looking for that first win. He's had some good runs lately, but win is all he cares about right now. Then you got Chris Lattimore, a rookie, his career best start in second. Duke Anzac, Nick Ortiz, then Jared Polansky, Daytona winner. Ben McDonald, who's been one of the best in the points battle this year. And you look further down, you see Anderson Reed, who was able to manage to hang on and make it into the playoffs this year, starting ninth. Echo Evans Ross getting a good start. Lane Sanders, another playoff contender. And you have to look all the way down, you see 18th, the 10 car has Bronson Minnick, who was fastest in practice. It's his first start in the 10 car. With defending champion Christian Vargas in 19th. Then you got to go all the way back, and you'll find two people who don't normally start this poorly, at least in my recent memory. Henry Thomas starting 38th, and William Brock starting dead last. Who do you think is going to try their hardest from the back to go to the front despite the single lane, Ryan?
Well, you got to look at the one you just mentioned. William Brock did not have a very good qualifying run. And on a track where passing is a premium, it's gonna be a struggle to try to come from 42nd on this grid, because not only do you have the fact the track is a single groove and the fact that it's hard to pass, but we're talking about Bristol here. We're within probably 10 laps or so, you're going to be in threat of going a lap down to the race leader, and you think it's tough to try to come through the field just being on the lead lap. You double that and try to be a lap down and try to work your way back through the field. Man, it's going to be a struggle. He's got a tall task ahead of him, that's for sure.
That is very true, and I have no doubt he is going to do everything he can to get up there, and so is Henry Thomas and a whole host of others who really want to have a good day. We're just going to have to wait and see how it goes, because we got a lot of racing action ahead, and the green flag will be moments away. And the pace car is off on pit road, and the green flag is in the air, and Devin Fair getting a nice shot off early. And Lattimore unable to get clear into the inside before Duke Anzac took off as they head down the backstretch for the first time.
Yeah, Bristol looks like Fair just got he got a heck of a start. Like he was shot out of a cannon there for a second. Just took off, and he was prepared for that start, and he's going to lead him around here through 1 and 2 is continue at the top spot as he has pulled out a really nice sized gap out to second place right now. Lattimore still holding on to that second position. Looks like he's going to hold off Anzac and hold on to that spot. As look at this high lane. The high lane's kind of starting to show something here. Again, we've had already 2 races here this weekend, so maybe that high lane is starting to come in now for the Superstar guys.
That could very well be, as you see Jared Polansky there right behind Anzac and Ortiz, who, as you said, the high line's starting to come in. He just took at least 1 spot, maybe 2. And Roberto Crown Jr. back there doing something, as well as McDonald. This this could be more interesting than we were prepared for, which would, honestly, I believe a lot of fans will be happy to see that.
Yeah, I know. Having been in the booth, obviously, the truck race and seeing, obviously, both of us running the national race the other day, it's like this high lane was not very active. But here at the start, here early on, at least 5 laps into this one, we've already seen the 13 hang on to his position, Ortiz, Crown, all running this top lane, and they seem to be making ground with it. So we'll have to see how it develops, if it'll stay there throughout the race or not. But already early on, as McDonald almost made contact with Finn Guy. They were going between 3 and 4, but they're able to sort that out and keep going. But yeah, this high lane, we might have a more entertaining race with this high lane working in, that's for sure.
Yeah, although it seems like Roberto Crown Jr. and Anderson Reed, well, Reed's having a better time on the bottom than Crown on the top, but this is really an interesting battle right now. And well, McDonald and Finn Guy, as you said earlier, they almost made contact, but they seem to be able to keep it steady, and they started okay, now we're starting to single file out a little bit, except for the 7 back there, but we could still see some moves to the outside here, as it looks like Polanski's going after Anzac there. And Fair, well, he's trying to be gone.
Like I say, at this point, it looks like Fair's in his own zip code as he's pulled out. Now we'll check the interval at the line. They're pretty much just over a second lead, and I mean it's almost he was the jackrabbit or the sprinter waiting in the starting lane, waiting for the flag of the starting gun, because he went off when the race went green, and has pretty much been at the front here through the first 10 laps of this event. Again, 150 laps for this race today, and so far Fair has led every one of them so far.
Yep, and Chris Lattimore back there started second, had to really fight to keep second, but he's now currently holding off Nick Ortiz, who's, I'm sure, wanting to get by that 13 and go after Fair, and could very well do it if he can get past.
Yeah, and Ortiz had, again, that heck of a start out of Ortiz using the high lane, and he's put it into third. He's trying to track down that 13 for second. As again, we get a brief look at the back of the field. Again, with Bristol, it's going to be a matter of how long is it going to take before the leader catches the back of the field. I mean, we saw it in the truck race. We saw it in the national race. So we'll just have to see what happens when these guys catch lap traffic, and if it's going to allow Lattimore and Ortiz to catch Fair and make it a race.
Yeah, that's the big factor right there, but I'm not sure Ortiz really seems thrilled with the idea of keeping Lattimore involved in the party to chase down Fair, but who knows, maybe these two things single file could do something, but it doesn't look like it's going to do any good at the moment as we look through the rest of the field, and it seems to be pretty calm at the moment, but you never know with Bristol.
And we just got a glimpse at it, but Fair fastest lap so far in the race, which kind of makes sense with the lead he's kind of built out now, almost a second and 3/4. So he's putting it onto him so far, trying to establish that has got the best car. Again, we kind of saw this in the truck race where it was like the best truck once he got out front, he was gone. And a little bit in the national race, although we did have the pass late in the national race, but it's going to be interesting to see whether Fair can keep up this speed. I mean, he is definitely showing the pace right now, as he's now built it over 2 seconds, I believe. Yeah, to 2.1 seconds now. And again, lap traffic could change it. We'll have to see when they catch the lap traffic if these guys can run them down. But right now, it looks like Lattimore and Ortiz are just going to battle for second, and they're kind of in their own little island for second as well.
That's exactly right, because you saw Duke Anzac is a ways behind Ortiz and Lattimore, and Fair, well, like you said, it might just be lap traffic that messes with him, but good as he is, I don't think he's going to, and determined as he is to get that win, and we were talking about the pre-race, I don't think that he's going to be that deterred.
Yeah, I mean, nothing will establish it better as far as a weekend than come in and basically put it on the pole and put yourself in a position to go out there and start off the playoffs with a win, as we got one car on pit road in trouble, it looks like.
Yeah, I believe that is Cody Goforth there in the 4 car. He's apparently got a tire issue because he's getting some changes now, but that's unfortunate because his first race in this car, he was doing a real good job, and we had a lot of different things going on. You see the field going by him. He's obviously going to go a couple laps or more down. And
yeah, well, when it comes
there goes Fair right by, almost to the rear of the field.
Yeah, when it comes to Bristol, if you have to pit under green, you're pretty much going to lose 2 laps. And unfortunate for Goforth, they had an issue there, but Yeah, you're gonna pretty much lose 2 laps, and Fair, meanwhile, it's I know we hate to harp on it, but yeah, I mean he's pretty much checked out here, and it's just gonna be a matter of what happens with the lap cars. You see go forth back off the race or back off pit road, back onto the surface, and no, he's coming back to pit road. So obviously, oh no, that's I got to remember with Bristol, it's the continuous pit road, so he's gonna lose at least it's probably gonna be at least 4 or 5 laps down by the time he comes back to the track.
And it's got to hurt him seeing his teammate flashing by with a commanding lead like that. But on the positive side, at least there's something good going for Revolution Racing right now.
And as we saw it in a couple of brief shots there, Fair is starting to catch this traffic, the back of the field. 27 laps into this race, and we'll have to see if those guys behind him, if Lattimore and Ortiz and Anzac, if they could try to make up some time to him, because again, he's got almost a 3-second lead as he gets ready to catch this lap traffic. So, and again, with what we've seen so far, at least in the early going of this race, with the high lane really looking like it's starting to come in, we'll see if passing is as difficult as it was for the other 2 races this weekend.
Yeah, and you see the first car that Fair is going to try to pass there is the 24 of Stanley Andrews, and then William Brock. Oh, what a contrast from last year for him. This is definitely not the weekend he was looking for, and I'm sure that barring a miracle that could get him a better finishing result, he'll be glad when this weekend's over already.
Yeah, and it's the detriment of starting in the back of really any race, but so much. Well, any race for that matter, but to have it be here at Bristol where track position is so key.
And now Devin Fair going inside Stanley Andrews and Brandon Beal ahead of him. William Brock trying to do everything he can to stay on the lead lap, but it's only going to be a matter of time as fast as 51 is. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, Fair is just... Again, we've been keeping track of lap times and keeping track of the fastest time of the race, and Fair is just in a zip code of his own. I mean, this 51 car, basically, it seems like, since the drop of the green flag, really has just been on a rail. And again, we mentioned it in the pre-race about how difficult it is starting out back, and Brock now only 2 cars away from going a lap down, and this is the defending winner of this race. So it's unfortunate. It just goes to show you, just because you're good one year does not necessarily guarantee you're going to be good coming back to that track. As Fair is just, and again, his lead is now at 3 seconds. So again, it doesn't seem like the lap traffic is really holding them up as much, at least so right now, as we've seen in the other races this weekend.
Yeah, he did lose a little bit of time because Beal got in the way, but I don't think that'll hold him up for too much longer. But it is making Brock happy to see the 37 holding up the leader. But at the same time, you also got to commend, while we're not showing him, Chris Lattimore holding on to second for 36 laps or more. And that's a really big deal for him if he can hold on. And here we go, right here. He's been holding on. Ortiz has been just kind of content as we look back at Duke Anzac, Jared Polanski. This is pretty much, everybody's been pretty much holding station, even Cody Goforth multiple laps down there. And Tiama Carter, who's had an amazing year running right there as well.
Yeah, is pretty much everybody outside of, again, Fair in the lap traffic, everybody pretty much from second on back has pretty much been single file. And even Ortiz, who had such that great start, and you would think somebody who, with the experience of Ortiz catching Lattimore, would be able to go around it pretty easy, but even he's just kind of content to just kind of ride there in third place at the moment. Again, we're coming to lap 40 here, so again, still more than half this race to go. So not trying to get wild and crazy, or not trying to go hard yet, but I know these guys at the back are trying to make moves to try to, as we see there's a little bit of a battle up here ahead of Fair between the lap cars, but we'll see if that again can slow them down. Again, now we're seeing the interval come down a little bit now. It was at 3 seconds at its peak. It's down to about 2 seconds now. So traffic now may be starting to interfere with Fair a little bit. This may give the opportunity that the 13 and 91 need to finally get up there and make a challenge for it.
Oh yeah, especially considering the 37 has been the major detriment for Fair right now. But all these guys fighting up here ahead of him, it's certainly not helping him at all. The only car he's managed to lap so far has been that 24 Stanley Andrews, and the interval is down to under 2 seconds now. And unless he finds a way to starts getting by these guys, as you see, he finally gets the inside of the 37 and maybe he'll start getting that interval back up where he had it before.
See, the biggest issue, again, as I said, for Fair right now is the fact that at least a couple cars ahead of him, there is a battle for position up there. And if they say double file, there really isn't anywhere you can do. You basically just have to follow the guy in front of you. As it looks like he will get possibly get the second lap car here, get the 37. As Brock is the next car ahead of him. You see Brock now trying to peek to the inside of the car in front of him to, again, try to put another car between himself and Fair, but meanwhile, Fair's lead is starting to shrink. It's down under a second and a half now. See what it is this time. Yeah, now it's 1.3. So it is shrinking ever slightly as he works this lap traffic, which, as we said, we knew was going to be what we had to see if the Ortiz and Lattimore could run him down in this traffic. And now he's got the two side by side in front of him, and got to be careful here, Fair. You got such a good race car. You can't can't ding it up right now trying to pass the lap cars.
Oh, absolutely. And he did gain back another 10th, right about, as he now is going to the inside of the 89 and going after Brock. But it's gone back down again. I've got a feeling it might just be that it's a combination of lap traffic and he may not have quite the long run car early on. But he's still got a good cushion right now. He does have 3 lap cars in between him and Lattimore and Ortiz. So who knows? That might be all he needs for at least a little while.
Well, the other thing we got to watch too is they're now pretty much on the same straightaway as if we see Lattimore and Ortiz. They're pretty much, they got the lap cars between themselves and Fair, but they're pretty much on the same straightaway now. So they can see the leader, they can see Fair. It's the first time they've seen him since the drop of the green flag. So that's motivation too. If you can see the leader, it's like, hey, he's there, we can go get him. But now they got to try to work the same lap cars that Fair has worked through. So. Meanwhile, back here, you see Anzac sitting here in 4th with Polanski, the Daytona winner, right behind him. And again, these guys are pretty much single file. No real moves being made here. Their issue is they're almost 5 seconds back of the top 3 at the moment.
And you would think that Polanski would be trying to make moves as we move back around and look at different angles, but you'd think Polanski would be trying to make a move as close to that 83 as he is, but he's not in that big a hurry, like we talked about. It's early on, not quite to halfway. Pressure's not completely there yet. Although for Chris Lattimore, who's holding on to second for as long as he has, he's got Ortiz right there. Might try to capitalize on him not being able to get by the 24 here.
Yeah, Lattimore is got to be careful here if he wants to hang out of the second position. But again, an attaboy to this driver and team to be sitting in the position they are. This is a great opportunity for him to get a nice solid finish. As Fair is going to work his way around Brock here and possibly clear off this corner. Brock going to hang on a little bit on that top side, but Fair looks like, again, he's not having as much difficulty as I think we expected him to have in this traffic. And again, it seems like, granted, the lap cars are getting out of his way, and that's admirable too. It looks like they're going to the top lane and giving him the bottom. But again, it's amazing to see how good this car actually is, and that he can work this lap traffic pretty much effortlessly. It seems like the only one he really had who really held him up was the 37 for as long as he did, or the 37, and then a little difficulty maybe with the 24. But now here he is, and he's going to see if he can try to get through this traffic and take advantage. Meanwhile, we got a pass for second.
Yeah, I talked about it. Lattimore wasn't able to get by Andrews, and Ortiz is capitalizing. Although Lattimore, despite having the lap car in there, has been trying to hang on. He will officially fall back to 3rd. But still, hanging on to the top 5 after starting where he did, that is definitely an admirable day for Chris Lattimore, as now he will finally have an opportunity that was created by Ortiz passing him to get by the 24 of Andrews. And Fair, well, he hasn't ditched Brock just yet.
Oh yeah, Brock gonna hang on and see if he can try to at least get back on the lead lap. But Fair, I think that car is. I think if Fair gets clear of this traffic, it may be one of these races where he gives the field a goodbye look. As so far, he's pretty much has led every lap. All 60 laps that have been run have been led by that 51 car from the pole, and worked through the lap traffic pretty good. He's got about the same three lap car gap between himself and now Ortiz, who sits in second. And Lattimore, again, as we said, still hanging out of that top 3 and having a career run. Meanwhile, basically from Anzac on back, well, actually, Polanski's got around Anzac, and he's actually closed the gap now. So it seemed like maybe Duke was holding up this 18, and once Polanski got around him, he's been able to close the gap to the top three.
Yeah, and you see things are starting to shuffle up just a little bit here. You see Lane Sanders trying to make a move on Emma Carter with A.J. Jones right behind him. And you got Finn Guy and McDonald going at it again. And McDonald able to hold on. And Sanders is not able to get by Emma Carter. This is all battling for outside the top 10, with the exception of Carter going after the 7.
Yeah, and it looks like, too, that they also kicked the lap car, Cody Goforth, to the high lane as well. So to make a pass for the lead lap cars. Again, it shows you how, Bristol, it's interesting the weekend to see how that second lane has developed. We haven't really seen a second lane in the other two races, and suddenly here we are, the last race of the weekend, and we're seeing a second lane worked in. So it's interesting to see how that's developed, as Polanski is catching this lap traffic now that Farrah Ortiz and Lattimore are trying to navigate. So he's definitely closed the gap to the top three once he got clear of Anzac. So we'll see if he can get up here and make a challenge maybe for the top three positions, as Farrah is almost actually through this first group of lap cars. So
yeah,
he's got another group ahead, but
yeah, the next thing is the 27 that scrapes the wall. That helped right there, and it could very well help a few others. Although I think the main reason is you're talking about Polanski catching Ortiz and Lattimore. I think it's the same reason that Fair got almost caught up to, is that 37 he's just very stubborn and not moving up to the high side and letting the lead lap cars handle things among themselves. But can't really blame him. But at the same time, you're already not in line for any free passes or anything if the caution comes out. So I would say just let the leaders by. But speaking of leaders getting by, Fair is clear and going to be taken off once again, I believe.
Yeah, he'll take off here until he hits that second group of lap cars, and he's already pulled the gap to a second and a half. So this car clearly has definitely been the class of the field today, and we saw it, however, briefly. I know you mentioned it, the 27 scraped the wall there off turn 2, just got a little high there and scraped it. Looks like he continues on and there won't be any issue, but again, Ortiz and Lattimore are still battling for second. Again, Polanski has caught that group of lap cars, so we'll see if Polanski can get into the battle with those guys. As again, the question at this point is, can anybody get to this 51 car and actually make a move on this 51? But again, there's some good racing back here, though. It's not like there isn't a fight going on here, as Polanski, again, only one car separates him in the battle for second, as Lattimore looks like he's going to make a... I thought he thought about making a dive there to the inside of Ortiz there for a second and thought better of it.
Yeah, and Ortiz has been trying to find a way to get by that 37. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries punting that 37 out of the way, as frustrating as it has been for... And he and Lattimore both saw how frustrating this 37 was from a distance for Fair, so I have no doubt they're going to want to try to do something to get him out of the way, because they see Polanski right there behind the 24.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, and you can kind of say, oh, the 37's racing for position, but these other lap cars as well were able to get out of the way. They didn't put up as much of a fight as he has, and I know at this point you're not making any friends by taking off your competition, so to say.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, we haven't talked about it much, but there's a certain somebody in the field who, if this were him dealing with the 37, would probably be on the radio demanding that he be parked or something. But I'm sure Ortiz is definitely starting to get just as frustrated. Lattimore has to be too, because while the 24 is holding up Polanski, that'll only last for so long.
Yeah, eventually what's going to happen, granted, we are just past halfway, so there's still a lot of racing left in this race. Again, all 42 cars are actually still on track. Goforth, who is several laps down after that unscheduled stop, is still running. But Ortiz is eventually going to reach a point where he is just going to say, okay, enough is enough, and he's going to move that 37 right now. You still got the leader in sight. Granted, I think Farrah's back up to about a 4-second lead. Farrah's pretty much gone up front again. Again, he's going to catch the second group of lap cars now, the next group of lap cars. So we'll see what happens when he catches this next group. But he's in a position right now where he's just basically on cruise control and just watching out for his own race. You know, you don't want to beat yourself at this point.
That's exactly right. And you talk about the next group of lap cars, you see it right there. Aaron Hall, Henry Thomas, those are the next two he has to lap. And then you see a few others up ahead. Danny Bouchard. And I'm pretty sure, yes, I do believe that might be the 57 of Zachary Fitzwater up there as well. He's got a few people who are in good cars that could really put up a fight trying to keep on the lead lap as Ortiz continues to take a peek on the 37 here, but no go just yet.
Yeah, and it's just at this point, I know we're kind of just watching Fair kind of run away with this, but again, it's not like we don't have fights on the track. I mean, Polanski catching the other two, catching Lattimore and Ortiz, has definitely put a fight on for second at the moment. And then everybody else, of course, still close and still racing each other for position. So it's still like it's not like there's battles on the track that we can't look at and enjoy. It's just it seems like Fair has pretty much said, yeah, I think I'm going to dominate today, and just taking off.
Yeah, and that's what he needs. And I keep talking about it how we talked about it during the pre-race, but all he cares about is winning right now. He doesn't care about just the top 5, just the top 10. He's had a few of those recently. All he cares about, given the bit of a roller coaster his season has been, is getting a win and getting that monkey off his back. And he could very well continue to do that despite being stuck behind Aaron Hall here.
Yeah, the other big thing is if, Fair, being a playoff driver, wants to start off the playoffs, right? He wants to start off with a win, and, what better way to establish that mark than to come in and basically, so far, he's led every lap of the 88 laps that have been complete as we are on lap 89. So, I mean, he's pretty much, he's making his statement here to open the playoffs like, hey, if you're going to go after it, you're going to have to go through me to get it. And so far, he's established that as Polanski, I believe, is now he is in the battle with those other two, with Lattimore and Ortiz. So we're going to have a three-way fight here for second before too long.
As we continue to watch Fair and Aaron Hall here, just not willing to let him by, and he knows that Fair wants to get by. He knows that he's in a battle for a championship. But honestly, Hall's just trying to survive this race. He isn't really that concerned about it unless race officials make him get out of the way. He's just going to do what he can to stay on lead lap, and I'm pretty sure that Henry Thomas and others ahead of him are very grateful for him holding up the leader.
And I figured I'd make mention of this, but as we continue to watch, it looks like Polanski is going to get third place from Lattimore. Again, these guys still held up by that 37 car. The 37 is not making friends with either with Ortiz or Lattimore, as Polanski is going to, I think he's probably going to clear for third here. Probably within this lap he's going to end up taking third from this 13, but still a good run for that 13 bunch. But Polanski, the car on the move right now, if only he was closer to Fair, I think he might at least be able to challenge Fair. I think Fair is still the best car, but anyway, as I was getting ready to say before we picked up on that battle is, so far we haven't seen any incidents. The 27 scraped the wall off turn 2, but that's the only incident we've seen so far in this race. It's been pretty clean as Fair starts to work this second lap car group.
And you heard me react there. I thought for sure that the 51 and 07 were going to make a little bit of contact, and that's not something Devin Fair wants to see, is a lap car making contact with his car, doing anything that could jeopardize this dominant run he's on. But as we approach the 100th lap here, and he's not really in a big hurry. He's still got a nice 6-second lead, big cushion. So these guys start holding them up. He's still got plenty of time to be able to potentially hold on for the win from here, but still a long ways to go.
Yeah, but you mentioned the first time, I think they about made contact again off turn 2, Fair in the 07, but again, if you're Fair, at this point, you just don't need to do anything to take you out of it. I mean, at this point, he's pretty much obviously has the fastest car here. He's led every lap at this point. Just don't beat yourself in this instance and take your time with these lap cars. I mean, you got 6 seconds over the rest of the field who are basically fighting each other for second at this point. And I think what's interesting, and I bring this up because last season's the spring race, last season's spring race here, it was the 51 car. Granted, the driver was different that dominated here, but late in the race there was a late incident that got the team caught up, and they got damaged, they got passed, and they weren't able to get back by it. So it just goes to show you that, even though we're seeing Fair lead it's pretty much every lap to this point, one thing could happen that could change all of this. So if you're Fair, you're just trying to be careful at this point. And I think he kind of heard me. I think he kind of heard us talking about that, because it looks like he backed off of the 07 and just kind of kept it single file here now behind this second group.
And you see, we also saw that in Fair's attempt to get by Hall, he basically gave Hall a bit of a boost to be able to get by Henry Thomas, who is now the next car for him to lap. But like you said, pretty sure he either heard us or somebody on his team heard us and reminded him, because he's going for it. And you see Polanski now trying to go after Ortiz, who's still getting held up by the 37.
And honestly, I think the biggest what if of this race, and Polanski's going to kind of be kicking himself, it's like, if only we didn't lose as much ground, because he probably, I think right now, has the second best car on track, and you wonder what if could happen if he could have caught the 51. Granted, with basically less than 50 laps to go here, I think it's going to take something happening to Fair, or a caution to bunch the field back together, and even then, if you have the lap cars between Fair and Polanski, I think Fair pretty much has got this in hand at this point. But we won't know what's going to happen. And how about this 5 team? You mentioned it. Reed barely made the playoffs last week, but he's in the playoffs and he's running 5th here. Running a nice top 5 run, and he got around the 83 as well and moved into that 5th position. So now he's going to try to catch this second through third battle that is basically as finally Ortiz gets to the inside of the 37, and I think he's finally going to clear him here off. He does. And man, that's a big sigh of relief out of that 91 team now that they got around the 37.
Oh, definitely. And we go back to Fair, as he's still biding his time and still growing his gap between first and second, but yeah, he's just doing what he needs to do right now. He's got around 40 laps to go, and he's hanging on there. And I guarantee he's going to be mostly content with where he's at, so long as these lap guys don't start messing around and screw up his day.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because it looked like there was a bit of a battle for position there just ahead of him with I believe that was the 73, the green and white car there. It looked like it got into the high lane, and there was a bit of a battle, but they sorted themselves out. And now Fair, basically running single file here with these lap cars, has lost a little bit of time that last lap, but again, I think that was because there was a little bit of a battle ahead of him that kind of slowed him up a little bit. And again, there is one lap car between Fair and this group here as well. So, as meanwhile, the 5 car has caught this battle, this battle basically second through 4th. So we got another player. I mentioned Polanski getting up there and being a player. Well, now the 5, Reed is up here now. And we'll see if he can get Lattimore here for 4th.
That's right. And Anderson Reed, to my knowledge, he doesn't have a ride lined up for next year. And what a statement it would be to just barely make the playoffs at Daytona, then come in here and get a good finish, which it's looking like he's going to as we go back to the Fair and then go back to this battle. Ortiz finally started to make moves. Polanski finally inside of Beal. There's finally going to be some light at the end of the tunnel, although I think that light is going to be just simply the checkered flag. There's going to be no 51 car at the end of the tunnel for them. But what these guys can say about this day is, as long as things hold together for them, they've kept their cars clean to this point. They've had strong runs. You definitely got to give Chris Lattimore all kinds of credit for every effort he's put into this race.
Yeah, and not just Lattimore. Again, we talk about starting the playoffs on the right foot, and I mentioned the statement about Fair, but some of these other guys like Polanski, wow, it looked like Ortiz had an issue there for a second. Oh, yeah, we got a car in the front straightaway. Looks like having an issue. Looks like we're going to stay green for the moment.
I believe that might have been the 9 there, James Silverfox, having a mechanical problem.
And
But
we're going to say
hopefully
green.
that doesn't bring out the caution.
And that actually did cause something on track. It caused, I saw Ortiz check up and was wondering why he checked up, and he's going to actually lose second position here to Polanski, who takes over the second position. And the 9 looked like going to work his way back around this pit road and back to his pit stall here. I think they're pitted on the front straightaway, so he's going to pull to his pit stall here.
Might have been a tire issue because they're changing tires.
Well, it may have been the same issue that happened with Go Forth. So we'll have to double check on that and see maybe what the issue is. Maybe they had the same issue as what Go Forth had, but yeah, that's unfortunate. Again, another car. Well, again, nobody's out of this race yet, so all 42 cars still running. So the 9 is going to be down there right around Go Forth, basically 42nd, 41st. So definitely not the day that they wanted at the end of the day. As meanwhile, Fair continues. He's led every lap to this point, and he's got lap cars between himself and Polanski, who is now firmly running second. And meanwhile, Anderson Reed did get around the 13 of Lattimore, so Reed into fourth.
I believe he got around it during that shuffle with Ortiz checking up for the 9 and everything, which, take advantage of every opportunity you can get. As we see right here, the 9 and the 4 are the ones that are in the very back of the field. Not going to be a good day for them, but at least they'll have clean cars at the finish, so provided nothing else happens.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing too for a racetrack we know as Bristol, being the beat bang short track that it is, that 125 laps, we're coming basically 25 to go, and still have not yet had. Oh, contact! Can he save it? Lattimore in the wall.
That
stay
is
green as he bounces off the wall, and that is unfortunate for Lattimore, who pretty much was a top 5 car, and contact with the lap car, the 9. We just mentioned the issue that the 9 had. A contact between the two of them. Lattimore bounces it off the fence, and unfortunately, what looked like to be a top 5 run is not going to end with a top 5 run for Lattimore. And that is absolutely unfortunate for them.
And then I see Finn got dripped up. I believe that might have been what happened with the 9 there. Is he drifted up, and it's just that Lattimore was there, and there was nothing that Chris could do about it. As now he's just fighting for dear life for a top 10, and we got trouble with Stephen Gale back here. He's got an engine issue, so it looks like we might have our first retiree after nearly 130 laps are complete.
Yeah, that's again. I might have almost put the jinx on. I was just saying, we hadn't had an incident yet in 125 laps, and here Lattimore and the 9 get together, and wow, we stay under green. I mean, that is an incident, and as you said, we may be looking at our first retiree with this two car with an engine issue.
And there it is.
And there is the first retiree of the race. Only one car
out of the race.
And poor Gale is like, why does it have to be me? As Fair looks like it's going to go to the high side of the 07. Actually, the 04 I think has actually caught Fair. Actually, I think the 19 and the 04 has caught this. And actually, checking Fair's lead, he has lost ground to Polanski. I think it might be a little too late. Again, he's still over 4 seconds ahead of the 18. So,
and then you got the 19 there as well. Apparently, he had to pit or something because we do have a caution out.
A lot of smoke ahead.
Sure.
Ooh, watch out if you're Fair. And the 04 are going to get collected.
This is absolutely unfortunate. We had to say this and had to talk about no incidents, didn't we?
Yeah, we had to mention and talk no incidents. There's there's McMillan in the 21.
Looks like his hood's a bit buckled, so he had some kind of contact.
As you mentioned, the 04 kind of plowed into it there at the end, but obviously it looked like the initial incident, there was 2 blue cars it was between initially, it looked like. I couldn't tell which 2 as the field will start to sort itself out here.
Saw some contact with some damage on Miles Mashburn's number 72, so he got involved somehow.
I believe that's the 29. Is that Young with the bent end back, the back end bent up on it? So
and the side dented in. So something serious happened here, and looks like McMillan's day is probably going to be done. So he's probably going to be joining Stephen Gill in the garage here shortly.
We'll wait a second here, get you a replay, and then find out what happened. Is the the first caution flag of this race comes with basically 15 laps to go. So
and we see. I don't think this is going to work out. And there we go. Contact.
yeah, there was slight contact between Vargas and Young, and then it collected 10 as well.
72, and there's where the 86 gets involved, and a little bit of damage for Fitzwater, and then we see Patrick Smith plow in.
Yeah, poor Patrick Smith just drove into it at the very end, and again, 3 wide. Ain't gonna work here at Bristol. And it looked like it, just 3 cars squeezed into one space at once, and unfortunately for Young and for Young and the 10, that was their race pretty much. Granted, they were on the lead lap. It's unfortunate. And again, the defending series champ, his teammate pretty much dominating the day today, gets caught up in this one.
And Dylan Young, it looks like he's going to try to continue, but it's hard telling if that car is going to be. It's probably going to be more of a hindrance to especially like maybe Jared Polanski there, unless he does the wise thing, he gets out of the way. But Fair's got to be sweating out, and he probably was beating on the steering wheel when he heard over the radio, caution, caution, caution. So now he's got to fight for this.
I'll tell you what's going to... 2 things that may help Fair here. One, he's going to have the lap cars to his inside. So that we've seen some of the lap cars be a bit of an issue for the guys behind him. So if he can get the same kind of launch like he had at the start of the race, he might be in a good position. Yeah, as somebody who's pretty much led every lap in this race to this point, you didn't want to see a caution, especially with the lead that he had, but I still don't think he's in bad shape yet. It's all about this restart. Dylan Young is obviously damaged to his inside, so that's going to help him a bunch get a good launch here. And as much as we talk about Fair, Jared Polanski, this is an opportunity for Polanski here. He knows he's got a quick car, maybe not as quick as Fair, but if he can get a good launch, especially with Dylan Young with the damaged car to the inside, he may have a shot. He may have a shot at this 51. We'll see what happens here. It'll be 12 laps to go as we get the green, with Fair, Polanski, Ortiz, Reed, and Anzac, the top 5, as we are back green at Bristol, 12 to go.
And Fair got a decent launch, not nearly as good as he did when he had Chris Lattimore to his outside at the start, but he did get a good one. And Polanski, he's already trying to get by Young. He wants that back-to-back, but Fair ain't going to let him have it easy, that's for sure.
Fair does clear Young. Polanski, I think, probably will clear him here off of 2. He does so. So the top 2 are free.
And Anderson Reed going inside Nick Ortiz back there with the 27 holding him up.
So Reed, move Reed up to 3rd here. Now, does Polanski have anything with this 51? I don't think so. I think Fair pulled out to a good enough lead that I think Polanski may just have to settle for 2nd here. Again, the 9 car on fresher tires is several laps down, but he's going to kind of hold up Polanski here a little bit. I know Polanski probably didn't want to see him go flying by, but who knows? Maybe
I don't think Fair will either.
Well, maybe it'll be an advantage to Polanski to have the 9 up here race the 51, and granted the 9 is several laps down, but he has fresher tires than the leaders, so he's looking like Superman racing that 51, who's pretty much led every lap today.
He is all over him. He wants by. He wants to get one of those laps back. He don't care how many he's down. He wants one back, and he wants by now.
Fair better be careful here. I think the smart move here maybe just to let this 9 car go as fast as it is at this point, but I know Fair doesn't want to give up any time to Polanski, but he may have no choice but to give up the time at this point.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Reed is sitting in 3rd. He made the pass on Ortiz. He's kind of stuck behind the damaged car of Young, but he's hanging right there. He's only about a 1.5 behind these 2, so
5 to go.
5 to go at the front. The interval is about half a second, 0.6 of a second, really.
And we see Anderson Reed back there finally getting to get by Young. Don't think he really has anything for these top 2, but you can't say, like I said before, you can't say anything bad about Anderson Reed. Squeaked into the playoffs, running 3rd right now, as you now see the 9 of Silver Fox finally getting by Fair. But it might be too little for too late for Jared Polanski as we come now out of turn, and we have 3 laps left. And this is going to be huge for Devin Fair. I have no doubt this is going to be a celebration that will be heard for miles when the
Yeah,
checkered flag
and
flies.
Polanski, coming off the win at Daytona, have a runner-up to start the playoffs. That's definitely good for him. And Fair gonna pretty much, it looks like, gonna lead every lap in this sucker, and that's amazing. Survived a restart. He'll come around here 3 and 4 and see the white flag, which pretty much at that point he knows it's gonna end the race no matter what. White flag this time.
Yeah, 1 lap to go for Darren Fair. He's dominated this race. He had to face a restart late in the go. Jared Plansky tried to make something happen, but it's not going to be enough. As he comes out of 3 and 4 for the final time, Devin Fair will get the monkey off his back with a win at Bristol, leading a Toyota top 3.
Fair with the win. Polanski second. Anderson Reed, a great run in third. Ortiz comes home fourth, the first Ford in the race. And then the first... Toyota took 4 of the top 5, basically. We mentioned the top 3, but they took 4 of the top 5 with Anzac taking 5th.
That's actually a Chevrolet there for Anzac.
Oh, sorry, that's my bad. You
Yeah,
can tell I haven't been in the... You can tell it's been a while since I've done Commentary Superstar.
Yeah, and then you see... And,
how
wow,
about
Anderson
Reed?
Reed blows up after the checkered. What is this?
You got a good podium run, and then you blow it up after the checker. That's a way to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, and then you got McDonald, Crown, Bubba Jones. Mark Davey got up in there, and Jeffrey Finn guy was able to hold on to the top 10. And what a day for Devin Fair. Starts on the pole, dominates, but you also got to feel for the heartbreak for Chris Lattimore. Held on to a top 3 for most of the day. Contact with the lap car messed it up, but people knew he was here, just like everyone knew that Devin Fair made a statement today. So,
I was gonna say Fair. It's a rarity to lead a majority of laps in a race, but to lead every lap in a race, you got to tip your hat to Fair's team. They basically came in and they put a whooping on him today.
That is absolutely right. So once again, congratulations, Devin Fair, and from Brian Griffin and from myself, thank you for putting up with a drivers only broadcast for today. We say goodbye from Bristol, and we'll see you at the next race, where hopefully our normal broadcast team will be there to see it.